What the fuck? Alrighty, so just got back from the theater, having watched Alien Romulus, and I'm just gonna get right into it. Not gonna really spoil it. I'll tell you when I will. So, for the beginning part, I just want to say, I definitely got super hyped for this movie. I mean, bought all the popcorn buckets, the cups, everything. I just bought from the theater as a ceramic cup. It looks real cool. I put it on my TikTok. I'll put it as a YouTube short as well. But the merch at the theaters for this is crazy. And shockingly, even though it went on sale last Friday, I went to one of the bigger Regal theaters in Oklahoma City and more. And we walked in, there was a line of people, but they had a bunch of popcorn buckets. Nobody was buying them. A couple people were. I was honestly kind of shocked because I'm already seeing them on Facebook being sold for scalper prices. So I was like, fuck, okay. Well, I hope people can get in here and get some. But super hyped, super excited. I watched it in IMAX. Definitely go watch it in IMAX. It's great with the crisp, loud sound, the bigger screen. Just everything is so much nicer. But to get into the movie, Alien Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens. And I think it's like 20 years after Alien. Not that it really matters, but without spoiling anything, it's almost, in a sense, a direct sequel to Alien. And this movie has a lot of references, but I'll get to that in the spoiler section. But right from the first, 3 minutes, the movie is beautifully shot. Great cinematography, great sound. What's weird is the first like 3-4 minutes of the movie, like the intro sequence, feels so artsy and so different from kind of like when it starts introducing the characters. But I enjoyed it. I was like, wow, this is really well done, well shot, well placed, everything. The sound is great. Then the movie starts, and so we've got our handful of characters. I think there's about five characters, maybe six. There's the main girl, which you've seen her either from the Unspoken Pacific Rim sequel or from this year, the Civil War movie. I can't think of anything else she was in, but I didn't care for her character in Civil War, so I was interested to see how she'd be in this movie. And then there's her brother, I guess you could say stepbrother, an android, which it's not a spoiler, they showed in the trailer. I've never seen that actor either. I've actually never seen any of these actors in anything except for that main girl. But then there's her ex-boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend's cousin, the cousin's girlfriend, and then the ex-boyfriend's sister. So, colorful band of characters. And basically, what the movie does, because you see in the trailer, they're on basically a Weyland-Yutani corporation world. And, it's cool seeing the the atmospheric processor like you saw on Hadley's Hope from Aliens. You're like, oh, that's a neat idea. And you actually get to see what a working community looks like, and it's a fucking shithole. But basically, you're introduced to this horrible, horrible, like, corporation planet where they basically work people to death. There's no sunlight. It's miserable. There's like crackheads and vagabonds all over the road, and not a good place. So the main character basically wants to travel to this place, where there is the sun and it's a beautiful world and free from corporations. But it takes 9 years to get there. And what's kind of weird is they act like they have to be asleep the whole time. But I was like, could you not find some, like from Alien, like the goop cereal or whatever the fuck they're eating, and just wake up every now and then, maybe don't sleep the whole 9 year trip. But basically, she wants to leave, and then her ex-boyfriend's like, hey, I got a plan I'd like to talk to you about. And then he's like, well, lo and behold, I actually want to get off here too, and we found a derelict space station ship right above orbit, and it's offline, but there's cryopods, so maybe we can go get those and fuck off. So, then it's, woo, they get to the Romulus station, ooh, and things start going amok. This movie does a great job of knowing its pace. At not one point did I feel like it was too slow. Like, oh, you're hanging on the characters too much. I get it. You want me to care for these characters, whatever. No, the movie understands most of these characters are going to die, so we're not going to just bombard you with exposition or pointless character development for you to be like, oh my god, not that character. One character, god damn, he's an asshole. But, when certain people die, I mean, you see in the trailer, it's like, oh. In the movie, you're like, wow. And that's something else I'll mention. Everyone kept bitching and moaning on Facebook, like, wham, wham, womp, womp. Oh, why do movies spoil the whole story in the trailer? By watching the trailer and watching the movie, the trailer actually does not spoil the movie. It may have spoiled, like, one obvious death, maybe two, but it doesn't spoil, like, any of the, like, the meat that happens. I was sitting there in the movie like, oh yeah, they didn't show any of this in the trailer. So, people are really fucking annoying about that. But another complaint I kept seeing, I'll get back to the story, but another complaint I kept seeing, weirdly, is a bunch of fucking, like, Gen X people, boomers, who are upset that the cast is young. Mind you, the cast is between 23 and 29. Is that young? I mean, because even when I was like 22, I was like, holy crap, like, I feel old. I'm 29 now. I feel old as fuck now. And, it's crazy. Mind you, it's all fiction, but people would sit there and be like, oh, well, space truckers, like in Alien 1, they were 40 plus years old. Sigourney Weaver was 28 in Alien. But no one seems to bitch and moan about that. And it's like, you realize even in the real world, truck drivers can be 25 years old. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, people above the age of 18 can have adult jobs, like the oil field and what you would think, like, oh, blue collar. So there was just a weird amount of these, I don't know. I don't even know if it's bots, but it's like Gen X boomer people who are upset that the cast is too young. And it's like, is it so wrong to believe that people in their early to mid 20s don't want to live in a corporate planet and want to escape? And they have the know-how to fly those ships because they work on the equipment all the time. But back to the story, yeah. They go back to, they go to the Romulus station, and man, it's just like the pacing is so perfect. It never lingers enough where you're like, get to the next point. It's thing happens, I wouldn't say resolve, but it's like, oh, perfect scene, ends, next scene, next scene, next scene. It doesn't feel like, okay, I'm bored. When is it going to get to the alien? No, they do a good job of showing you a little bit of something. And it's not a Godzilla 2014 situation where it's a little bit of something for 10 seconds and then whoop. No, it's here's a face hugger. Oh my god, it's chasing us. And, something that this movie does awesome. Two things is in all the other movies, you don't really get an emphasis on how scary the face hugger is, like in this movie where there's 30 of them chasing you. And second of all, I would say for almost a decent portion of the shots where the facehuggers aren't outright sprinting, it's practical effects and it looks incredible. They look disgusting. And so it's cool to see those. The alien looks cool. You don't really see. I thought the whole hype of this alien, because I saw a NECA figure of it it's called the Scorch Xenomorph, and it's got like a cut. I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a special thing. To be honest, they don't really do anything with that. You see it every now and then, but I mean, it's just kind of there. The deaths are great. Where they're what you'd expect, but different enough where you're like, whoo, one almost felt like a callback to AVP 2. And I was like, okay, all right. Something you'll realize in this movie, there are a lot of callbacks. When I say you should probably watch, probably the only one you wouldn't have to watch is Alien 3. I highly recommend watching every other movie in the Alien universe to really get the references in this movie, because boy, is there a bunch. At one point, I was like, are we about to see a Predator reference? Because they're referencing so much shit. But there's not. Sorry to break your heart if that's what you're expecting. There's no Predator reference. But the movie, and even towards the end, you almost feel like the movie's going to end. And then you're like, well, that can't be it. And then kaboom, 20 minutes. Oh my God. I was not honestly expecting it. I was kind of expecting something, and then something else happens, and I go, oh, okay. Well, that's, okay. I will say, I have two minor gripes. Well, one's a minor gripe. One is honestly, I think, a fair criticism. One minor gripe is they leave the planet with no issues whatsoever and get to the Romulus station with no one trying to stop them or anything. I don't know if maybe, the idea is that since it's a mining ship, it can't get too far, so no one cares if people try to leave. But I just kind of felt like there should have been a line or something maybe where they're like, there's a guard shift change, or, I paid off the guard, something, just because it just happens. And I was like, how did they escape? But my second gripe is there's a heavily CGI character, and it's noticeably bad. And then when you don't see the CGI outright, it doesn't look as bad. But I knew what they were doing. The moment I saw this thing, and I was like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. And I was like, are they going to do this? And they did. And I thought it looked terrible. But I'll get to that in the spoilers section. But overall, I mean, my wife is sitting here like, oh my God, woo, God, Jesus. I was feeling tense. I'm like, oh, okay. So here I thought it was just going to kind of be a repeat of Alien, which it kind of is, but it mixes in aspects from Alien, Aliens, Alien Resurrection, kinda, and other movies. So I think it's a good time. This is definitely going to be a Blu-ray purchase for me, and I'm glad to know that Disney owning Fox now haven't really interfered, because boy, it was, didn't feel Disney-fied at all. Nothing. I'm curious if Disney will want to, from the success of this, milk it to oblivion, and be like, we need an Alien Romulus 2. We need an AVP remake, all that. But so good. A very enjoyable time. Really gory. I wish I would have seen it in a better theater, because The theater I went to, I'm gonna be honest, Regal, you gotta amp up your stuff, dude. Like, the seats are smelly, everyone in there stinky, everyone's loud. There's a reason why I go to the nice brew house in Oklahoma City, because you ain't dealing with that shit. But yeah, I'd say go check it out. From here, I'm going to get into spoilers, so please stop the video here, go watch the movie, and if you feel kind enough, come back and watch the rest, and we can discuss. But, so, spoilers. Right from the get-go, the intro scene, where it's showing the ship going through a wreckage, I was like, so I know this is set between Alien and Aliens, so I thought, is that the Nostromo? And boom, wouldn't you know it, you see where it says Nostromo, and my wife was like, I don't understand what's happening. I was like, it says the Nostromo. And she was like, oh, okay. Basically, at the end of Alien, as you'll remember, Ripley, in the shuttle, turns on the thrusters, which in the original movie looks like water, blows the xenomorph out into space. Well, the xenomorph either cocooned itself or was trapped in like a rock or something. So Weyland-Yutani finds that xenomorph. Big Chap is what he's called. It's called. And they basically open the crater thing that it's in, and then it cuts. That's the intro sequence, and it's so well done. But then you find out that, when the group of people are like, there's a derelict space station. What happened is that space station is like research, and they didn't realize that the xenomorph does not need air and doesn't die from just being encapsulated. So the xenomorph got out and basically almost killed everybody in the space station. So it's basically like redoing the Alien movie, but you don't even get to see it. But spoilers, they go to the Romulus station, and then there's they walk into this main room where there's a half disintegrated android face down, big puddle hole in the floor, and then you realize when you look up, it's Big Chap. It's the alien. They finally killed it, but by killing it, it blew a giant hole in the ship. But you're like, oh wow, okay. But this is where I go back to earlier about the worst CGI thing in the movie. The moment I saw the android face down, I was like, let me guess, it's Ash, or the Ash series robot. And they turn it on, and you hear the voice, and they keep doing a back of the head shot, like, oh, it's the voice. Which, I don't know if that feels kind of creepy to do an AI voice of a dead person, but they do a deep fake of his face on the android, and it looks like dog shit. It looks terrible. But then later on, as he's talking, they'll kind of do a shadow effect, and it doesn't look as bad. But when it's just bright light on his face, I was like, this looks noticeably bad. I wish they would have either done it from a far away angle like they kind of kept doing in some scenes, or just, I don't know, get Michael Fassbender, or, get a David robot for whatever reason. I don't know. But, yeah. So, the premise of why they go to the Romulus station is the main girl and her android brother. She wants to get off the planet. She's eligible to leave the planet, but then the lady working the computer for Weyland just changes the numbers and says that the main character has to work another 6 years before she can leave and pay off like her debt. And so she's like, fuck, I'm stuck. And then her ex-boyfriend calls and is like, I have a plan. Let's go fly up there, steal some cryopods, and GTFO, and go to that planet you want to go to. So they go up there, and initially, there's no gravity, the lights are flickering, and so they're trying to figure out how to get the gravity back online, which does come full circle later. But they get it all ready, but then they realize the cryopods only have enough power to last 3 years. So they can't make their 9-year journey because it only lasts 3 years. So then they're like, okay, well, there's another room, because they actually don't have a motion tracker like the Colonial Marines. They just have a cold sensor. So they realize there's another room, like a cryo room. They go in there to try to take the batteries, try to take it out, but it puts the whole room in lockdown. And you realize that the room is filled with face huggers that they have frozen. No eggs, only face huggers. So I am like, were there eggs and they took them out of the eggs? Like, huh? But by them pulling out the battery of the coolant, the face hugger, the room starts warming up, so the face huggers come out. And something they kind of play with is that the brother, the android, he's kind of dumb, kind of like messed up in the head for an android. And so they pull the like security disc from the Ash robot, put it in the brother, and he's like rebooting, going crazy. While the two guys in the room are getting attacked by facehuggers, but he reboots, grabs a facehugger by the tail, and slams it into the ceiling and kills it. But then you realize that the brother with this new chip has been like artificially upgraded, both mentally and physically. So he's like super strong, has no like soul anymore, doesn't act human, acts fully robot. I mean, he was never a human, but he doesn't care anymore. And so he starts speaking with the Ash robot, and they're like, the number one priority is the company's property. So he just becomes a huge asshole till about the end of the movie. But they're running away from the facehuggers. The Asian girl with the bald head, she gets attacked by a facehugger, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So they have an idea, because they have like an extinguisher gun, kind of like a freeze gun spray, and they're like, well, it's tightening every time we touch it. So what if we like freeze its tail, or just basically try to freeze it where it freaks out and lets go. So they do that and it works. It lets go. They were able to pull it off, and then they wonder, did we pull it off in time? But as we've seen from the trailers, no. And then the brother, the robot, is basically like, you cannot go back on the ship because you're infected. So he starts trying to chase him down, almost like he's trying to kill him. So they freak out, where it's the Asian girl, the ex-boyfriend's sister is sleeping on the ship, so she's in there, and then the Asian girl's boyfriend all run on the ship they came in and just like undock and try to leave. But then the chest burster comes up and they crash land back onto the station through one of the docking bays. And then, that's when it's basically the alien part. Although, and they do something interesting in this, I will say, because in Alien, you see the chest burster, and they're like, let's go find it, and then 10 minutes later, it's a fucking giant, full-grown xenomorph. So in this movie, they actually show that in between, and it basically hibernates in a cocoon that, if you've known Alien and H.R. Giger, it has a distinctive look. And the Asian girl who died, her boyfriend is like, fuck this. He's got an electric rod thing, and he just puts it in there, and he's trying, killing it, and you hear it screaming. And then the ex-boyfriend's sister, is like, let's go. But then this dumbass just keeps looking at it, even though he killed it. But now there's like something that came out, and he's like, huh? And it's the xenomorph tail, and it like pokes him in the eye. So now he's like on the floor, like, But since he beat the shit out of the xenomorph, there's acid blood falling. So it starts falling on him, and it's just melting him. And he's like, And it just, finally goes through like his heart, and he just dies. And you're like, whoa, God. And it's chasing the girl. And then you get more scenes where Andy, the robot, basically is like, it's not worth saving one person if the alien comes in here and kills us all. So, goodbye. And just really intense back and forth. They introduce a kind of a new weapon. So if you're familiar, especially from Aliens, there's like I can't remember what it's called, like the M14A, whatever, the pulse rifle. It's like that brownish green. It's that iconic look. Grenade launcher on the bottom, pulse rifle. In this movie, it's like a proto-pulse rifle. It almost looks the same, but it's white, and can, instead of holding 99 rounds, can hold 450 rounds? Or something crazy. But they basically mix the pulse rifle with the smart gun. And if you remember from Aliens, Vasquez and whatever the Drake, they use the smart guns, which is a giant turret on an assisted arm with your eyepiece, and it basically can auto aim. So this is now a pulse rifle with the smart technology. So that was kind of interesting to see. And they do a scene in the movie where, because the whole thing is like, oh, well, the alien might be afraid of you pointing a gun. Maybe it learns because we can't actually shoot it. Otherwise, the acid is going to go through the ship and we're going to die. And so, again, going from the beginning with the gravity callback, the main character and her brother feel like they're about to die, and then she turns the gravity off. So then all the xenomorphs chasing them, because plot twist, there's like 50 xenomorphs, start floating. So then she turns on the smart pulse rifle and just starts going to town, killing all of them. And finally, they get scared enough to leave. But she has to go that way, and now there's just acid pools everywhere in the air that they got to dodge. Really cool scene. I really liked that scene. I thought it was very well done. I really liked it. There is... we're in spoilers. So basically, there's a reference to Prometheus, which I was not expecting. The big hidden property, actually, which wasn't even the xenomorph, kind of was, is the black goo. The whole thing that you find out is that they extracted DNA from the xenomorph and the facehuggers, which is also basically the black goo, which is in their blood. And so the Ash robot references the Prometheus mission and what Peter Weyland was trying to do from Prometheus and the black goo. So they have a vial of the black goo and they show, it testing and stuff. I was like, no, I was not expecting that. And that is a neat tie-in with Prometheus without it feeling like it's confused. Like, a side tangent. Alien Covenant, I thought Alien Covenant sucked asshole, but I loved the Prometheus parts of that movie. But that movie could not decide if it wanted to be Prometheus or Alien. This movie is an alien movie with a reference to Prometheus that doesn't feel weird. And I loved it. And boy, oh boy, does that go into the ending. So you find out that the ex-boyfriend's sister is pregnant in the beginning. And it's kind of weird because she says, the main girl goes, "Who's the dad?" And the girl goes, "Just some asshole." And mind you, so when the douchebag in the group, when his Asian girlfriend dies, he's all sad. And then he's on the ship with the pregnant girl. After they crash land and he finds her, he's like, they kind of grab onto each other. Maybe you're good friends and you're glad that they're alive, but he the way they looked at each other, I was like, is there an insinuation that he's the dad? Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I was like, are they insinuating that? But whatever. The ending is Andy survives, the robot, the main girl, and that pregnant girl. But the whole thing is, while the main girl went to go get Andy, she gave the black goo to the pregnant girl, and the pregnant girl's injured, and she's like, go back to the ship, I'll get Andy. And the girl barely couldn't make it, so she grabs the freaking black goo, injects herself, and is like, "Bah!" And then, when they get back to the ship, they're all going into cryopods, but then hers starts saying, critical life, blah, 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 blah. So the main girl's like, what the hell? And then it really starts feeling like Aliens because the main girl, she's in her underwear and a tank top, just like Ripley. And it's the whole, oh, I thought I'm safe, but there's actually something on board. Except this time, the pregnant girl she was like maybe, a month pregnant? Not even showing. Now she got a full belly, and all I could think is, oh God, we're getting to the Prometheus squid abortion scene, aren't we? And she's just giving birth to this pod. It looks like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers plant pod. And you're like, what is happening? And then it opens. And you see a human. But you're like, what the fuck? Is it an engineer? What? But, it's covered in acid, so it falls through like a cargo port of like minerals that they have under the ship. So the main character goes to find the baby, can't find it, but you hear noises, and you see a big like humanoid prince, and you see this thing dangling, and oh my god, you finally see it. It's a fucking engineer xenomorph hybrid, and it looks scary as fuck. It looks so creepy. I was like, oh, damn. I thought this movie was just about the xenomorph, and then it turns out there's more xenomorphs. But oh, we're doing an Alien Resurrection kind of shit, you know, because in Alien Resurrection it was Ripley's disgusting alien baby thing, and then they blow it out of the airlock or whatever. But then that's why I was like, oh, this movie's taking aspects from Prometheus, Aliens, Alien Resurrection. It was so interesting for me to see, and God, yeah, horrifying thing. I love that it doesn't seem as stupid as Alien Resurrection. And I like that it was kind of that Prometheus callback where it's a fucking engineer xenomorph. I'm shocked we never got to see that in Prometheus or Alien Covenant. But it's, you know, it injures Andy, it kills its mom, basically. And it's just a real intense scene of her trying to figure out how to escape from it. And my God, this movie is tense. But yeah, was not expecting the engineer xenomorph baby. I'm, you know, because I've said this before. You sometimes you watch a movie like a prequel or like a spinoff, and you go, well, what was the purpose? And I was scared a little bit that this movie would just be a repeat of Alien. You go, well, what was the point of that? But this movie was able to basically take that first Alien story, mix in action from Aliens, mix in unique ideas from Alien Resurrection, and it just was this fresh kind of take on Alien again that I really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed the main girl and her stepbrother Andy, the alien. I'm sorry, the android. I thought it was really well done. And the ending, man, just like, oh my God. But go watch it. Oh, it's such a good time. I am biased. As you can see, I've got my face hugger on the wall now, and I bought all the damn Alien merch. But it's a good time. And boy, what just a solid entry. Like, you know, like I like Prey, what it did for Predator, but it ultimately did feel like they were just kind of doing Predator again with nothing new. This feels like they were doing Alien again, but change it up enough where you're like, this is nice. So that's about it for this review. I can't remember the last time I was this excited and talked about a movie for 31 minutes. But please enjoy, like the video, comment, you know, if you stopped before the spoilers, you know, want to say something, come back, let's discuss. Boy, is this a movie I would love to talk about. So until next time, that is going to be it. I'm out. Right. Oh.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, that'd be good. We just gotta get Gigi out. She's being cute.
Freaking move. She's in the shot?
Yeah.
Oh my. Get.
Okay. Okay. Gigi can't be in here. Why is Gigi having fun?
So.
And Bill, we're gonna leave.